This is the rugged G.I. Joe adventure team. At dawn, G.I. Joe heads across the desert in search of the mysterious missing mummy. Suddenly, an earthquake. No time to lose. Joe must get the mummy out. Can G.I. Joe win his race against time? You find out. The Secret of the Mummy's Tomb, one of the adventure sets from G.I. Joe.
Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh Weekly. As always, I'm Robo, and lots of pretty pictures today, but not a lot of pre-orders. And that is perfectly okay with me. It's nice to just sit and look sometimes while you're messing around with figures you already have. Anyone else do that? Have figures in strategic locations all around the house? Beside the chair while you're watching TV? At the computer desk when you're scrolling YouTube? On the bedside table? Various parts and pieces strewn across your kitchen counter where you've been popping off hands and feet and heads and torsos, just like a big battleground that's gone horribly wrong, but beautifully oh so right. Oh, it's just me, huh? Sure. I know some of you are just as bad. Ain't nothing wrong with fiddle figures. Keeps your hands busy. Keeps you posing instead of making that 50th pre-order of the month. And it's only the 10th. First, let's swing back around to last week where we talked about LooseCollector's The Crypt, The Great Wolves. It's interesting that Garros is listed as being from the south, and then Morocco is from the west. Does that mean there's at least 2 more wolves on the way? Now, y'all know I am not the greatest researcher, but I am the first to admit when I don't know something, or fall short, or screw up. Because if I had just watched the video that came along with the reveal of the Great Wolves...
I peer upon the icy north, and there rules mighty Voslak. From the dark east lurks Dilim of the shadows. Within the west mountains, the fiendish Morocco. And from the windy plains of the south, regal Garros.
Maybe those come about soon, but that's not the only reason I'm bringing up LooseCollector. There's also a new tease for their iconic Hero series. Yep. Looks like my guess of Grendel was right on the money. That guess I came up with all by myself. I did not glean that from comment sections on social media or anything because, yeah, Robo knows stuff. Sure seems that this is a half a picture though. Like there's another part, like a childhood friend that did them dirty at some point, so you fold it over or tear it off and put it in a picture frame and go, oh yeah, that was always me, all by myself, visiting Disneyland. Or the other half is the next tease. Either or. We'll see what happens. Kicking back slightly to Big Beasties, the Spero Studios Animal Warriors of the Kingdom Primal series The Void just went up for pre-order on Big Bad Toy Store. And I do mean just went up for pre-order. As I was coming out here to record, I did one last check and ba-boom, big mech wolf. Now I know what you're thinking, because I'm a mind reader. Stop that. You are thinking, man, that's a top-heavy action figure. Will it have a problem standing? In my experience, no, because I do have Thane, and that is a big, broad-shouldered chunk of plastic, and I've never had trouble with it, so I doubt there's gonna be trouble with this. Solid is the word that comes to mind when I think of Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. Just solid action figures. And now they're throwing bot elements into their signature style? Oh, I can hardly contain myself. Cause yeah, this looks good. Or bad, since this is an evil character. You do not want to be dropped into the arena with this thing, because that's exactly how the Void fits into the storyline. And really, if you're on the same side, you do not want to annoy this guy, because then you have to avoid the Void. Yes, I just came up with that. I am a marketing genius. Ace over at Ramen Toy has been hot and heavy with the updates when it comes to their bread car, and now they are showing an actual physical prototype. I know exactly what this is supposed to be. I mean, he enlisted A-list talent in order to get this sculpted and make it look like it's supposed to. I am A-okay with that. But seeing it in grayscale gives me all kinds of ideas for other vans. Punisher van, Deadpool delivery van. Did anybody have this when they were a kid? Or this? Or this, hey, wait a second. I'd even like to see this in Mystery Machine colors just for the pure insanity of it. And a Scooby Gang in 80s clothing and style, but I'm a silly bastard, so. There's also an update for the Ramen Toys CAG set, or CAG set, that stands for Canopy and Guns, which is an upgrade for the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman 89 Batmobile. The guns simply slip over the sculpted recesses that are already on the car, but I think the canopy is going to be a little bit more involved. That's some screws and some popping, I believe. I've seen some tutorials, I've seen people swap out canopies, but I haven't actually sat down and looked at the mechanics of it. But even providing your own elbow grease, this seems totally worth the $20 price tag in order to get that iconic profile. Then they announced they're also including the gas caps. Hey, it still works with the CAG name, or should they add another G? The G can stand for gas caps and guns. Marketing. And honestly, I didn't even realize they were missing, but it's a good add-on. My initial thought is that you have to glue them on, but then I looked and there's that seam line that McFarlane added to the body that's not on the actual car, and the gas cap should actually be higher than that when you compare it to the Hot Toys version, which I'm assuming the Hot Toys version is accurate to the movie, whereas the McFarlane car is toyified. You know what I mean? Concessions had to be made in order to get it into a box and sold at the price they sold it at. However the gas caps are going to go on, it's still an upgrade. It works with the rest of the kit. Now these haven't actually went up for pre-order yet, but if they're announcing prices, then it's got to be soon, right? We knew this was coming, but this week McFarlane Toys unleashed their DC Multiverse Batman and Robin movie wave upon the world, and these have no right to be as good as they are. I personally don't hate the movie, but it's not anywhere near the top of my replay list. But looking at these, I want to go back and watch the movie. That's how good these are. Okay, they're not perfect. They have some of the standard McFarlane beats, but the way they did these, it plays to their strengths. There is a lot of costume detail, a lot of sculpt work, but the colors are just kind of there on most of them. Although that's not really the toys' fault. That is the style of the movie, so they're just replicating what's on screen. Like I said, lots of intricate detail. The whole suit's in black, at least in the case of Batman and Batgirl. Although Barbara does have a pop of color with the blonde hair. Robin brings in the burnt red on the suit and has more skin showing, which makes it sound like, oh, well, yep, he's naked, but he's not. He's just has more flesh exposed than the other two. That sounds worse somehow. The build of Mr. Freeze is awesome. Just look at it. There's so much going on in the sculpt. When it comes to paint, it's just silver plastic with some light blue and then that translucent helmet thing. And I skipped to the build of Mr. Freeze first because the winner of the wave for me is Poison Ivy. And it's not just because she gets some extra TLC with the dry brushing on the leaves of the torso and then the fades on the legs, although that does help, but it's also that color scheme when placed with the rest of the wave. She just pops. You're gonna look at this assortment in a display and go, ooh. I also want to go back and appreciate McFarlane Toys for how far they've come on the likenesses. Again, not 100% perfect, but dang close. It's mostly because they've tightened their eye paints way up. That does wonders for live action offerings. Well, okay, the masks help too, but even underneath those you can go, oh yeah, there's Clooney, there's Silverstone, there's O'Donnell. And don't think I'm giving the paint all the credit. The sculptors also knocked these out of the park. Batman's serious but slightly playful in a way. Batgirl doesn't have to prove a thing, and of course Robin's cocky little grin. Arnold's is probably the, I hate to use the word worst because that makes it sound bad. It's not. It's a good likeness. It's just not up to par with the rest of the wave. It's probably because of the smoothness of the skin. That throws me way off because in the movie, it was crystally, it was shimmery, it was freezer burnt for lack of a better term. It still looks like Schwarzenegger. It's just put through an Instagram filter. That's what's going on here. Also, the painted silver on the helmet, that should be what color the rest of the body is. Now, I don't have anything against swirly twirly plastic, but when it's supposed to be chromy, when it's supposed to be shiny, yeah. I'm predicting lots of fantastic custom paint jobs in the future. And Ivy's hair could use a wash too, to throw a nitpick that way, but overall, this looks like an amazing action figure. Again, there's little comic book flourishes to help the resemblance along with the leafy eyebrows, but the lashes and eyeshadow and sculpt just brings out the Uma Thurman. And I'm gonna say that this is probably one of the best looking skin tone plastics I've seen in a while. That, under the red hair and against the various shades of green, makes for a hell of a presentation. And I almost forgot, Batman and Robin comes with frozen limb effects, which kind of balances things out against Poison Ivy, who comes with nothing but gets the extra paint apps. Then Batgirl gets Mr. Freeze's head. That's doubling up on the face printing in the same box. So, it's just a good looking assortment. But that's not all. When I did that last check a minute ago, there were also some new DC Multiverse reveals. These are sneak peeks of the next collector edition wave, which brings a heftier price tag, which is weird when there's a Batman in the wave, you know, because it's another Batman. Him as Green Lantern is neat, but this is for the hardcores. There's Batman collectors out there, I know. Again, I can read your mind. Yes, another Batman, but it's okay because Batman sells. Return of Superman has that sexy mullet and is jacked to the gills, but it's also listed as coming with Krypto the Superdog. See, things like that make it seem worth the bigger price tag, but we also have to see how Krypto turns out. Is there gonna be some articulation, or is it just gonna be a plastic slug like Dog who's coming with Lobo? Those are fine and dandy, but mine eyes hath seen the glory of the DC Multiverse Captain Carrot, and I must have it. This doesn't match my mental image of the character, but at the same time, I love that it fits within the aesthetics of the DC Multiverse line. I don't know if he's ever looked like this in the comics, but in my brain, McFarlane looked at this and went, yup, we can todify that up. This won't stand out in the display. Well, besides the fact that it's a 7-inch scale, gritty, muscled up rabbit in a superhero costume, but you know what I mean. It's gonna fit with the rest of the display. Don't get me wrong, I'd be all over a cartoony version too, but this will definitely do. This works. But you may be asking yourself, hey, we're talking about DC. Where is the Clown Prince of Crime? Don't worry, Mezco has you covered with the 1/12 Collective DC Golden Age Joker. This is meant to be a companion piece with the Golden Age Batman and Two-Face set. And now that I said that out loud, it's fairly obvious, but this is how I keep track of everything in my brain. By constant repetition, constantly talking about this stuff, rambling on. And on and on and on. There's also a Caped Crusader edition of that same Batman, and really, you could probably pair this up with, like, Dick Tracy figures. Basically, this is a good old-fashioned Joker with some appropriate bells and whistles. Fake police badge with an acid effect, a fedora, joke buzzer, and card-holding hands, a Joker utility belt with a spring buckle, and let's stop right there and take a closer look at this thing. I've never heard of this, so when I was scrolling through the pictures, you can only imagine what I was thinking when I got to this one. That is awesome. Joker looks so pleased with himself, making Batman slightly flinch at the sight of something springing up at him from Joker's lower abdomen. It's just one of those lovable Golden Age type things that don't really happen a lot these days, but I adore stuff like this. Which is why this newspaper just makes me sad. Seems like a missed opportunity to give us that front page boner story that became a meme a few years back. It's been some years. But it just means he messed up. Vernacular back in the Golden Age was a bit different from modern times. Anyway, along with those accessories, there's also 3 different heads. Peering to the right menacingly, eyes open laughter, or yelling maybe, and then eyes closed cackling insanely. I'll admit, this pick nearly got me. I have many a Joker, but I didn't get that Golden Age Batman and Two-Face set. And I like to have corresponding Batman and Jokers whenever I get those. It's the 2 mains, you know? You gotta have them matching. And since I don't have that, it works in my favor for not spending money on another Joker. Although, yes, I do. Do I need it? Yeah. Another flashback to last week, the Hasbro Marvel Legends Lalandra was revealed at Luca Comic and Games over in Italy as I was recording. I looked down and I was, oh, look at that, a convention hall picture, and then I gave my initial reaction. This week, Pulse posted a better picture, and I have thoughts. First, I am an X-Men junkie through and through, so I am all over this. A chance to bolster my ever-growing display of Merry Marvel Mutants with another plastic representation of a character from my young comic book reading experience? Yes, please. It's Lilandra. And she looks good. I've seen chatter online wondering if the head that came with Mystique was going to be compatible with this, and I'm going to guess no, because looking at the silvers, I don't think they match up. But I may be wrong about that. Digital renders, prototypes, promo pictures, you never know until you have it in hand. But why would you want to replace this head with that one? Look at the face paints. This one is far superior, at least in the prototype stage. But I get it. Options. All right. With that in mind, I wonder if she'll come with her staff thing. I mean, she comes with grippy hands. Surely they wouldn't do that if they weren't going to give her something to hold. Right? Right, Morgan Elsbeth? What is going on here? I like the suggestions of an unmasked head too, but I'm keeping my expectations in check. As much as I would love to see that helmet feather hair, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. The biggie though is all the unique sculpt. The head and cape are new, obviously. I can't quite tell if the lines in the torso are sculpted or if they're painted, but that belt line and the end of the armor seam are definitely new. And then I think the legs are new with that armor seam there and the texture to the undersuit and then the bracers. I think. It's hard to tell anymore with the overlays and even body parts. There's been so many that I lose track. That leaves the arms up in the air, but really, it's mostly never before seen parts. So why does Lilandra warrant this treatment, besides being mother flippin' Lilandra and X-Men related? Perhaps it's potential reuse for better known X-Men characters? I mean, look how close a lot of this detail matches. If this is not used for an armored Psylocke sometime in the near future, I am completely losing my faith in humanity. It'd really just be shoulder pads, cape, and head to make the best look Betsy's ever had. Maybe some tweaks to the torso and the joints to make it 100% accurate for those who want that 100% of the time. Word on the mean toy streets is that Lilandra is coming in a 2-pack with Wolverine, some form of Logan, and I'm here for that too because X-Men! And yes, I managed to talk this long about a single picture. That's how much I love X-Men. Oh, and before moving on, the best Psylocke looks start here, and then to here, and then I think to here, even though I haven't read a lot of this era. And then there's here, here, and then everything else falls below that. Yes, even that costume. I understand its significance, but it is not my favorite, not by a long shot. And hey, speaking of long shot, have I talked about my love of the X-Men? Hey, wait, come back. Looks like Bandai is doing little sneak peeks for their SH Figuarts The Marvel's Captain Marvel. And I know that sounds weird. I have it listed as Bandai, Tamashii Nations, SH Figuarts, Marvel, The Marvels, Captain Marvel. That's too many Marvels. Here's Carol in her costume. Again. I know it is different, but is it different enough? Honestly, I had to go back and compare at least the last one to this one to make sure that they were different. I get it, costume tweaks to sell more merchandise. It is not a new concept. You ever seen Star Wars? And yes, she has had more exposure in the MCU, but I would have loved to seen Bandai tackle Kamala or Monica and then swing back around to Carol. At least the head sculpt is an improvement over the previous version, even though it's not the greatest likeness. And that's all I have to say about that. Not because of the movie or anything like that. Her characterization, blah, blah, blah. It's more along the lines of Spider-Man figures and Iron Man figures where we've gotten more than a few and it just becomes, well, okay, that's cool. I think for me, the pinnacle of Captain Marvel costume is Endgame. Oddly enough, I don't have a figure of that, so I'll have to remedy that, I think, at some point. Finally, let's wrap things up with Mattel's Turtles of Grayskull. That's right, over the course of just a few months, I've went from Origins, aren't those 5-inch scale? And yeah, they're cool and all, but I don't want to talk about them. To Filmation Designs, reeling me in. To holy shit, a crossover between Masters of the Universe and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Let's make it the closing act of the weekly. Hey, I don't steer this ship, I just go where the heart takes me. Now, we've talked about some of these before, but this week Mattel released bigger and better promotional pictures of what we've seen and what we haven't seen, so let's start at the beginning. First, again, the best turtle in the height of Eternian fashion. Nothing we didn't know, just Donatello in Man-at-Arms inspired type armor. And that inspiration works both ways, with Duncan altering his gear to look more turtley. And remember, this isn't a mashup. This isn't taking a character from this side and a character from this side and Red Rover, let them come over and stick them together. This is the Turtles and their villains making their way to Eternia and teaming up with the corresponding teams. And the eternal struggle continues. Because like Donnie, Leonardo is going to acclimate to the more savage environment by dressing appropriately and arming himself up with bigger, more magical barbarian type swords. I think I read a blurb that mutated He-Man is a pawn for the bad guys after he got he done got mutated. But I'm only focusing on the design at the moment, and that purple just pops and the translucent plastic, but there has been some questions. Because you go to this picture and it looks like painted plastic. It's solid. Which one's gonna be the final product? I'm guessing it's the translucent plastic because there's so many more pictures of that. And Mattel does have a track record of letting early prototypes slip out with their pictures sometimes. So that's what I'm guessing this is. Krang kind of blurs the lines between crossover and mashup with the full-on Megator body, but it also makes sense that he would update his android shell to look more like the surroundings, you know? At least that's what I'm telling myself in my head until I see more of the story. Something I didn't realize until we got these new pictures is that you can take the Krang cockpit out of the mid-torso and then snap it back together for a full-on figure, and then Krang separate. Cockpit in mid-torso. But then there is the last of what we already knew about, but my second favorite of the batch, Mousejaw. It seems like it should have been Mousetrap, but at the same time, you can't copyright Mousetrap. You'd have to go into something like Masters of the Universe / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mousetrap. So Mousejaw works. There's a mouser, it's his jaw. Mousejaw. I love that this confirms that you can take parts off Trapjaw and make a separate mouser while leaving Trapjaw fully on. He's got the arm, there's a blast, and he has his standard assortment of attachments. It's like getting two figures in one. That is cool. Although if you want to army build mousers, you're gonna have a lot of Trapjaws, but maybe you can army build Trapjaws. And I said it the first go around, Trapjaw's design is iconic, but the white just takes it to another level. It just stands out. For new reveals, Shredder was featured on the packaging that made its way out earlier, but I didn't talk about it the first time around, and this is our first time actually seeing the figure. And looking at this, if it wasn't for the packaging, you would think this is just a souped up standard Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder, you know what I mean? Like, oh, yep, it's Shredder, just a little edgier. I kind of feel like that fits Shredder's personality though. He's not gonna adapt. He's not gonna blend in. I don't care about any of this. I just want to defeat those blasted turtles. He does have the standard Eternia belted underwear though. And that makes sense because you fall through a wormhole into another planet. You're not prepared for that kind of thing. You didn't pack, and underwear is pretty important. So yeah, I see him just walking by some clothesline and just, I need this. Where are the turtles? Beastman though, okay, Beastman has become one of my favorite Masters of the Universe bad guys over the years. So to see this just kind of thrown together, or maybe I had higher expectations, but it just seems like some of Shredder's armory came through with him. Beastman looked down at the ground and went, okay. But again, that's what Beastman would do, right? He's not a thinker. He's just looking around, need more armor, everyone else is doing it. Or am I just justifying the line by making up, having fun? Is that what I'm doing? Oh, shame on me. Because I guess you could say the same thing about Raphael, hanging out with Ram Man, just looking around, I'll take this, this, and this, let's go. But there is some redesign to it. Well, I guess go back to Beastman. He's got some beastie looks to the face mask too. So, I don't know. It works. Because Raph, that fits his personality. He's a hothead, just rushing into battle. And that fits right alongside Ram Man. Why wouldn't he have his gear? His helmet comes off though, to reveal just a turtle head. Does Donatello do that too? Because they haven't shown that. And that Man-at-Arms helmet seems awful tight. Speaking of Ram Man, he got himself mutated too. And, I've never thought about the ram aspect of Ram Man. I always just, he's ramming things. But when you mix it with a franchise that is a bunch of animals that are mutated, why wouldn't you mix them with a ram? In fact, I'm mad at myself for not thinking of this when the concept was announced. It's so blatantly clear. For the Slash and Faker combo, this is the only image Mattel had in the folder, and it was labeled Customized Tog Mashup. But then on the full lineup image, he's labeled as Slacker, or Slaker? Slock here. There's an apostrophe, so your guess is as good as mine. Probably better, because I suck at this. And don't think I didn't see those pizzas underneath the shell. So damn clever. As crazy as some of these are, Mossman takes the cake. He is the most modified from his original form. Yeah, Ram Man, Ram, mutated He-Man. Look at Mossman. I'm gonna guess that there's some mutagen involvement here too, with the translucent green plastic and all the attachments. I mean, look at that Venus flytrap. Uncle Mossy gets all the accessories. Is this a deluxe release? Did I miss something? Best of all though, no flocking. A Mossman that everyone can enjoy. Overall, this is a hell of a start, and I do mean a start, because where's Michelangelo? Where's Skeletor? Those two, along with Tila, Casey Jones Splinter, and Hordak, were all featured on the announcement image, so you know there's more to come. No pre-orders just yet, but they gotta be coming fast. This is a lot of figures to announce without having solicitations. But knowing Mattel, they're all gonna go up but then release at different times. Isn't that what the Filmation line did? It's like, hey, these two are coming now, this one's coming later, this one's coming this month, and two more, and then next year we'll work into the summer and everything else. So we'll have to wait and see. And that is... That's all I have for this week. I feel like I've been talking forever. Like I said, quite a few pictures, not a lot of pre-orders, but that's okay. We can appreciate what we're looking at. And damn, am I in a good mood. I've had some diet changes lately. I've had some schedule changes. I've been getting up earlier. I've been getting out and about in the real world. That has just enhanced my mood so much, because maybe out of a rut, maybe I'm out here in the new space enjoying the hell out of it. I can do what I want for as long as I want. I can yell, hey, woo! That's all I got. Bah.